Do you want me to look at the camera, or do you want me just to talk to you?
Just talk with whatever.
Okay.
So, do you think that you've lost any bees from colony collapse, or?
The tricky thing is that with colony collapse, what's happening is the bees are leaving, and so you're left with maybe some brood, but no queen, and maybe a queen, but no worker bees. And so we lose bees all the time to different things, but it's hard to know exactly if it's colony collapse or if it's something else. Like mites are a big problem for beekeepers. They diminish the strength and the health of your hive, but your hive doesn't necessarily disappear. So that's what we've experienced most, is problems with mites, which is a parasite on a bee. In the winter they can starve to death because if their honey stores are over here and their brood is over here, they need to keep their brood warm, so they won't actually go eat the honey. They'll stay on the brood and they'll starve rather than just moving over 2 frames and eating the honey.
What is a brood exactly?
A brood is the baby bees.
Okay.
So like we have about 200 hives right now.
Oh wow.
And we lost a lot of bees this winter, but none that we specifically think we've lost to colony collapse. In the past, we have had possibly 1 or 2 hives where we thought maybe that's what it was. Like the numbers were down and we couldn't really explain where they had gone. But my opinion about colony collapse is that yes, it's a big problem, but it's a bigger problem with the commercial beekeepers who are keeping thousands of hives and shipping them all over the country to pollinate. So they pollinate almonds for 2 weeks, and then they'll go maybe to oranges or all the way up to Washington to do apples. And when you have thousands of bees that you're trucking all over the country, you're more likely to be susceptible to any kind of virus that's out there, because all the beekeepers across the country's bees are all in one spot. Okay. So we don't really do that. Our bees are in Ohio.
Stay at Ohio?
Yeah, and so that's why I feel like colony collapse hasn't really threatened us as much.
So you think Ohio beekeepers are doing pretty good with it so
I think comparatively to beekeepers maybe out west, you get more beekeepers who do pollination services and they transport their bees all over. So I wouldn't say Ohio beekeepers are having no problems, but I would say their problems are usually not colony collapse as much as it is problems with like starvation. In Ohio, the weather is up and down so much, especially in the spring. And in the spring is when they start rearing their baby brood. And so if it like I was saying, if they're trying to keep the babies warm, and then all of a sudden it's like maybe it's 70 degrees one day in March, and then the next day it's 50 degrees, and then the next day it's 30 degrees. Well, then those bees aren't really ready for that. So that's like the trickiest thing about beekeeping in Ohio, is the weather is all over the place, and you never know like what to expect.
So.
She has 15 hives, and over half of them were destroyed over the past winter. She has Italian honeybees. They're blonde and they have these furry little bodies. They're really pretty. Bee etiquette is to not stand in front of their front door.
How many bees did you have at the end of last season? Like how many colonies?
I don't know that specifically.
There's at least maybe like 10 or so.
Yeah. I know she has 15 hives just right now. She probably had over 30 last winter.
Okay. Is there a difference between like the raw honey and other honeys that are sold?
Well, so honey is like, it's like a super saturated solution of glucose and fructose among other ingredients. But what happens is like there's always like tiny crystals of glucose will form spontaneously because of the concentration. And when those are essentially like seed crystals, so the entire jar will sort of spontaneously, the glucose will all fall out of solution spontaneously unless you pasteurize it first, which, because of the high temperature, gets rid of the glucose crystallization. So it's like, it's pretty stable, like after the pasteurization, that is, the glucose will stay in solution for like a long time. So that's why it's never really crystallized in the store. But yeah, this stuff, you know, is unpasteurized.
It all depends on the temperature. Like, this is just a different color because it's crystallized.
Alright.
And what's in this?
Yes. So you have all your own hives?
We do. We have about 30 hives.
30 hives. And have you had 30 hives consistently over all your...
I started out, I wanted one hive for our own personal use. And the first year we multiplied to about 7. And
Wow.
then doubled it the next year to about 14. And now we're up to 30.
That's great. Have you lost any bees?
Over the summer or the winter time, we've lost about 30%.
Wow. Do you think it's from colony collapse or pesticides or...
Combination. I think it was a lot from the mites because we treat ours naturally. I don't put chemicals inside of ours. And then a few of the hives starved out. Just not enough food.
Just starved out. Are the mites a big problem or are they more recent?
Mites are a big problem, yes. The more established hives that you have, the more mites are inside of the hive. So yes, that's a big problem.
What do you think is the difference between your honey and like honey that you'd buy in a supermarket?
The honey, a lot of it that you get from the supermarket is imported from other countries, and they add corn syrup to it to make it go further.
Yeah.
Our honey is nothing but just the natural.
Natural.
Right out of the hive, yes.
All right. Thank you very much.